Nityananda. Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jai Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jai Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jai Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jai Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jai Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jai Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. 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 Hare Krishna. So we're reading today from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, chapter 15, text number 112. Please repeat after me. Kandera Mukunda Dasa Sri Raghunandana. Kandera Mukunda Dasa Sri Raghunandana. Mukyatina Jan Shri Narahari E Mukyatina Jan Kandera Mukunda Dasa Shri Raghunandana Shri Narahari E Mukyatin Jan Kandera Mukunda Dasa Shri Raghunandana Shri Narahari E Mukyatin Jan Boliye Kandera Mukunda Dasa Nandana Shri Narahari E Mukyatin Jan Kandera Mukunda Dasa Shri Raghunandana Shri Narahari E Mukyatin Jan Kandera Mukunda Dasa Shri Raghunandana Shri Narahari Mukyatina Jan Mataji's Kandera Mukunda Dasa Shri Raghunandana Shri Narahari Mukyatina Jan Kandera of the place known as Sri Kanda Mukunda Dasa Mukunda Das Shri Raghunandana Shri Raghunandana Shri Narahari Shri Narahari these Mukhya, chief. Tina, 3. Jana, persons. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Abhay Charnaravinda, Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Translation. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then turned his attention to 3 persons, Mukunda Das, Raghunandana, and Sri Narahari, inhabitants of the place called Sri Khanda. Okay. Om Jnana Tremendasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Shnapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajata Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. It is my great honor and good fortune to be here this morning in Sri Sri Radharas Bihari Ji Mandir. Before I begin speaking, I seek the blessings, the ashirwad of all the devotees that are present today, especially His Holiness Kavi Chandra Swami Maharaj and His Grace Mukunda Madhav Prabhu, Hanuman Prabhu, Pancharatna Prabhu, and all the senior Vaishnavas that are here. Kripaya Aap Sab Ashirwad DGA. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Today is the most auspicious disappearance day, Tirobhav Titi Maha Mahotsav, of 2 very great Vaishnavas. Number 1, Srila Raghunandana Thakur, and secondly, Srila Vamsidas Babaji Maharaj. So I've been instructed by the temple management to speak on the topic of these two great souls. Because by remembering these great souls and glorifying them on their disappearance day, we get unlimited opportunities to receive their mercy. So this is very, very auspicious to remember these great Vaishnavas on this occasion. Su Mangalam. It is very, very auspicious. So I'll begin by discussing Sri Raghunandan Thakur, who appeared in Sri Khanda, which is in West Bengal. And this was during the Leela of Lord Chaitanya, around this time. His father was Sri Mukunda Das. And Mukunda Das had two brothers. One was Sri Madhava Das, and the other was Sri Narahari Sakar. And all three brothers were very, very great souls, great Vaishnavas. Mukunda, Raghunandan's father, was a Vaidya. He was a doctor in the court of the Muslim king, and he would personally look after the health of the Muslim king. One day the king called Mukunda to come for a consultation. The king was sitting on a raised dais, on a big asan, on a big throne. And Mukunda was seated below him, also on a raised dais, but not as high as that of the king. And the king was being fanned by one of his servants with a peacock feather fan. And so exalted was the Krishna consciousness of Mukunda that when he saw the king being fanned with the peacock fan, and he saw the peacock feathers, Mukunda remembered Krishna, and he went into ecstasy, and he fainted, and he fell off of his asan onto the ground. The king was shocked. What's happened to my doctor? He's on the ground. The king leaned over and asked Mukunda, "Are you dead?" Mukunda quickly regained consciousness, and he explained to the king that actually I have a disease called epilepsy, and sometimes I have some fit or I go into this epileptic condition. But the king could understand Mukunda was a very, very elevated Vaishnava, and he went into this fit of ecstasy because he remembered Krishna. And the king sent Mukunda home. He said, "You can go home now." So we can learn a very important lesson from this story, and that is the devotee, he never wants himself to appear very exalted and very advanced. When especially the Madhyam Adhikari preacher or the Uttama Adhikari who's come to the Madhyam Adhikari platform to preach, he doesn't want to exhibit ecstatic symptoms like tears or shivering or fainting or trembling. He may experience these, but he doesn't want to display them publicly. One reason is humility. He doesn't want others to think that he is an advanced Vaishnava. And the other reason is he doesn't want others to imitate these symptoms. This is sahajiyism, taking things cheaply. So he doesn't want to create this mood. So we see Srila Prabhupada also, sometimes one time he was chanting this Parama Karuna Pavidwijana Nitai Gora Chandra. Srila Prabhupada was in the Western countries. Maybe he was in Atlanta. He was remembering the mercy of Gaur Nitai, coming all the way from Mayapur Dham to the Western countries and distributing their mercy. And as Prabhupada was remembering their glories, tears started to roll down his cheeks and he became stunned. But he did not want to display these symptoms. He brushed off the tears and he regained his composure and he continued his presentation. One time I was with one senior ISKCON Vaishnava with a large yatra. We were in Sri Varshana Dham in a big kirtan, and all of a sudden in the middle of the kirtan this Vaishnava started shedding so many tears, and I was standing right in front of him. Jai Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Ras Bihari ji ki jai, Shri Shri Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ji ki jai. And as soon as he was shedding the tears, immediately he wiped them from his eyes in an angry mood, because he did not want anyone to see that he was having these symptoms. So this was the mood of Mukunda. He did not want people to know his exalted position. So one time, Mukunda, he had a small child named Raghunandan. So Raghunandan was small, maybe 4 or 5 years old. He was playing with his friends, running around outside, and he was always interested in worshiping the family deity of Gopinath. So one day, Mukunda had to go out for some business as per his profession. So Mukunda went out, but who would make the offering to Gopinath? So Mukunda told Raghunandan, Raghunandan, take the offering plate, the thali, from your mother and put it in front of Gopinath and ask Gopinath to eat. And then take that Maha Prasadam and give it to your mother. Raghunandan was very small, but he was very obedient. And the time came, he took his plate, he went into the altar, and he put the plate before Gopinath. And he said, Gopinath, Gopinath, please eat, please eat. And Gopinath glanced at the plate, and with his eyes, he ate the prasadam. Because we know that all of Krishna's senses are interchangeable. He can eat with his eyes, he can taste with he can smell with his tongue, he can hear with his eyes, he can hear with his nose, he can interchange all the senses. But Raghunandan was a small child, and he said to the deity, you did not finish, you did not eat. Please eat, please eat. He began to cry. And then Gopinath said, I eat with my eyes. I eat with my eyes. Raghunandan said, no, you eat with your mouth. Please eat, please eat. And he started to cry. And then Gopinath came down from the altar and began to physically eat the prasad. And he ate all the prasadam. Raghunandan was very happy. He took the empty plate, he went back to his mother, he said, offering successful. He gave the plate. Mother said, where is the Mahaprasadam? Gopinath ate it. And mother was confused. He said, wait till your father comes home. So then Mukunda came home, he asked his wife, where is the plate? Where is the Mahaprasadam from Gopinath? And the wife said, I don't know what to say. Raghunandan made the offering and he came back with an empty plate. You ask him. So the father, Mukunda, he said, Raghunandan, what happened with the Mahaprasadam? And Raghunandan said, Gopinath ate everything. The father was amazed. He said, here, offer him this ladu. He gave a ladu to be offered. And then Mukunda, he hid behind the curtain of the altar to watch and see what would happen. Raghunandan began offering the ladu. Gopinath, please eat, please eat. Gopinath was afraid. He didn't want Raghunandan to cry again. So he began eating the ladu. But he only ate half the ladu. Raghunandan said, why did you stop? Please eat, please eat. Gopinath said, no, I'm still filled from lunch. So he left half the ladu there. And the father was amazed to see this. The father was crying. He picked up little Raghunandan and put him on his lap and embraced him. And he washed little Raghunandan with his tears. And that ladu, half a ladu, Ardha ladu, is still in one local temple in Srikhanda. And you can go for darshan of that half ladu. So this is the amazing reciprocation of Lord Krishna with his devotees. Yeyatam mam prapadyante tam sataiva bhajam yaham mama vatmanu vartante manusya partha sarvashaha. Krishna says, however my devotee surrenders unto me, I reward him accordingly. So this was the relationship between Krishna and Raghunandan. He had a very, very close relationship with Gopinath. So later, Lord Chaitanya was in Jagannath Puri, and devotees traveled to Puri. Mukunda Das and Raghunandan and Narahari Sakar, they all traveled and they met Lord Chaitanya in Puri. And Lord Chaitanya asked Mukunda Das, who is the father and who is the son? And Mukunda said, actually, because little Raghunandan has given me so much faith, Vishwas, in Krishna, he is actually the father and I am actually the son. And Lord Chaitanya was very, very much pleased with this realization of Mukunda, because Raghunandan, very exalted Vaishnava. So later, back in Srikhanda, small Raghunandan is with his father, his mother, and they got news, samachar, this achar samachar, good news, that a great Vaishnava was coming to Srikhanda. And that Vaishnava was Sri Abhiram Gopal Thakur, an eternal associate of Lord Nityananda's, one of the 12 Dwadasa, this Gopals. So he had great power. He had a whip called Jai Mangala. Anyone that he would whip would get love for Krishna, Krishna Prema. And he was so advanced that if he paid obeisances to a Shila, and it was not a bona fide Shalagram Shila, that Shilagram would crack into pieces. Vapre Bap. And if he offered obeisances to anyone, and that person was not a pure devotee, the person died. Oh. So the mother and father, they heard that Sri Abhiram Gopal was coming to Srikhanda to meet little Raghunandana. And so they were getting nervous. What if he offers obeisances to Raghunandana? And what if he dies? Oh no. So they hid Raghunandana in a nearby place. And Abhiram Gopal came and said, Where is little Raghunandana? They said, oh, he's gone playing. We don't know where he is. And then he was at another home, another house, Boro Dangita. And Abhiram Gopal found out he's there in that house. And he went there to the house. And Raghunandan went to embrace him, went to run towards him. And Abhiram Gopal was running towards Raghunandan. And together they offered Dandavat pranams. And little Raghunandan survived. He lived. Haribol. So they embraced. They started dancing together. And they were dancing in so much ecstasy, chanting the holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Bolo. So little Raghunath was dancing with so much enthusiasm that he kicked with his foot, and he had ankle bells on his foot, Nupura. And that Nupura flew in the air kilometers and kilometers and landed in another village called Akai Hata. So it was like... It landed in a kund, splash. And that kund is now called Nupura Kunda. Nupura Kunda. And the local devotees, they found that Nupura and they kept it in a local temple. So you can still see little Raghunandana's Nupura if you go there. So later, Abhiram Gopal Thakur was married. He had a son named Kanai. Kanai had sons, Madan Roy, who was a disciple of Narahari Sakar and Vamsi Vadana. And 400 men, Char So Lok, they came from this dynasty, Bahud Lok. And in the spiritual world, Gaur Ganodesh Deepika, this book, explains that in the spiritual world, Srila Raghunandan Thakur is Vrinda Devi Gopi. Shri Raghunandan Thakur ki jai. So now I'd like to briefly discuss Srila Vamsidas Babaji Maharaj, who is more contemporary. He was a contemporary of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He was on the planet at that time. He was born in the year 1859 in Majidpur in Bangladesh. He was the oldest son of 7 children. His father was Sanatan Mala Brahma and his mother Srimati Sarva Sundari. Later, he traveled to Mayapur. As a youth, he would visit the local Gauranitai temple, and he would associate with Narottam Das Babaji. And he learned many bhajans of Narottam Das Thakur and developed a great attraction for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu. He got married. His parents were worried. He's too renounced. So his parents got him married. But after this marriage, he left his wife and his 6-month-old son and became a renunciant. He was not an ISKCON devotee. ISKCON will not let you do this. You need permission from your wife. So he took initiation from Narottam Das Babaji, who gave him the name Vamsidas. He was extremely austere, so austere. He was only wearing kopans. Once Sripad Haridas Goswami asked him, "Why do you not wear bahir vesh? Why don't you wear some outer garment? Why are you only wearing the kopans?" So he replied, "I live only with ka, not with ba." Ka means kopan, karanga, and kanta. Kopans we know. Karanga means water pot, like this. And kanta, we know, kantimala. So this is the only thing he was living with. Kopans, kanta, and karanga. He says, "I have nothing to do with ba." Ba means bahir vesh, or the outer garment. So this is very austere. No external clothes. He said, bahir vesh brings relationship with the outer world and the people who are bahiranga, those who are attached with the outside world. So he wanted nothing to do with those that are attached to the outside world. My Gora has asked me not to wear bahir vesh and mix with people who are bahiranga. So extremely renounced. And got this instruction directly from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. My Gora told me this. He would bathe in the freezing water even when he was sick. He wouldn't take any care of his body. He was 6 feet tall and he was always traveling, so he's quite tall. And even at 80 years old, at the age of 80, he would walk very, very fast. And other people would have difficulty to keep up. So even though he was very austere, he was very fit. And he was an avaduta. He would not follow the rules and regulations. He was very much an avaduta. And his possessions, only thing he had were some deities. He had 3 sets of deities. And deity puja paraphernalia. Some shank, some patra, some plate, some bowls, just for the offerings. Only some puja paraphernalia. This is only possessions. Deities and puja paraphernalia. He would carry the deities in a bag around with him. He had 3 sets of deities. He had a small Bal Gopal, Chota Bal Gopal, and he had 6-inch metal deities of Radha Govinda. And he had Bada, 3 feet, wooden deities of Gaur-Nitai, big. And he carried his deities always with him. And he would constantly talk to them. He was always talking to his deities. He would not speak to anyone else, barely. But he was always in a conversation with his deities. He would talk to Gopal lovingly, sometimes angrily, in an angry mood, and sometimes pleadingly. And when he was having conversations with his deities, sometimes he would stop as if listening to what they had to say. He passed day and night in the service of his deities, having sweet talks with them. Early in the morning, he would go to collect flowers. Then he went for bhiksha. He would come back to his kutia around noon and make garlands from the flowers for each of the 6 deities. So he'd come back and make 6 garlands. for the deities every day. And then he would cut vegetables for bhoga. And he would wash each vegetable several times to make sure they were very clean. And then he cleaned the rice. And if any rice had a little bit of husk still on the rice, he would remove it with his own hand. So he had a very sweet relationship with Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who very much appreciated him. And he arranged wherever he went that the Gaudiya Math brahmacharis, they would bring grains for him and other necessities. But then he was acting like such an avadut in his service to his deities. He always kept the bhajan kutir unlocked and kept the keys. He had 3 keys. 1 key he would keep with Bal Gopal, 1 key with Gaur Nitai, and 1 key with Radha Govinda. And he would leave the place open. And you say, okay, you can take care of the place. And if anything would happen, like some cow would come inside and eat the bhoga or make a disturbance, he would blame the deities. He would sometimes chastise the deities. One time, one thief came and he stole the 2 bowls used to offer bhoga to Gaur Nitai. When he came back, he found the bowls missing. And Vamsi Das Babaji Maharaj was angry. He started chastising Gaur Nitai. He said, I need these bowls to make my offering to you. And you had the keys. Therefore the thief came. You are an accomplice in the crime. Therefore you are at fault. I will not serve you any bhoga until you bring these bowls back. So then, shortly thereafter, someone brought back the bowl from Nityananda. So then Vamsi Das Babaji Maharaj said, see, Gauranga, Nitai's bowl, he's brought his bowl back. I'm going to cook for him, but I'm not going to cook for you. You have to bring your bowl back too. So then Vamsi Das Babaji Maharaj, he cooked and he offered, but only to Lord Nityananda. So then it's mentioned in the description that I read that Lord Gauranga is watching Nityananda eating with a very long face because he's not getting anything. So then shortly thereafter, Gauranga Mahaprabhu's bowl also came back. So then Vamsidas Babaji began cooking for both Gaur and Nitai. Another time, there was a disturbance. Some things were stolen. And Vamsidas Babaji Maharaj was very, very angry at the deities. And he was so angry. He picked them up, tied them with a rope, went to the river, threw them into the river, and held the rope down with his foot, chastising them. And then he pulled out the deities and brought them back. Such an angry mood. After this incident, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur told the brahmacharis that you cannot go there anymore. He is a great exalted Vaishnava, but you cannot understand his mood, and you may make offenses if you go there. So only one special brahmachari was allowed to go and bring the food for Vamsidas Babaji Maharaj. So, and even that brahmachari, sometimes Babaji Maharaj would welcome him, and sometimes he would yell at him in an angry mood and throw a rock at him. And sometimes he would take the gifts sent by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and throw them in the river. So he had a very, he was avadut, with a very consciousness that we cannot understand. But Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur had great respect for him. So, of course, we cannot imitate the activities and pastimes. And while I was doing a little research this morning, I was trying to find out about the three kas, the kopins, the karanga, and the kanta. And I was like, what is karanga? What is karanga? So I found one song written by Srila Narottam Das Thakur. And this must have been a song that was very much appreciated by Vamsidas Babaji Maharaj. It goes, Karanga kopina loila, Charita kanta gaya diya, Teya giya sakala vishai. So I'm just going to read the translation. When will I renounce all sense gratification? When will I accept only a water pot and a torn garment? When will I constantly sing Lord Krishna's holy names? When will I go to the groves of Raja and make my permanent residence there? When will I attain ecstatic love for Krishna? When will I wander in Vrindavan, detached from material affairs, and only eating some roots and fruit at the end of the day? O Lord Hare, Lord Hare, when will that auspicious day be mine? When will I become full of bliss, overwhelmed by ecstatic love, by bathing in the cool waters of the Jamuna River? When will I wander about Vrindavan with my arms upraised, calling out the name of Lord Krishna and crying? When will I see the place where Radha and Krishna secretly met? When, overwhelmed with ecstatic love, will I roll about in the dust at that place? When will I call out, O Radha, O controller of my life, where are you? O Krishna, O lifter of Govardhan hill, where are you? O my masters, where are you? When will I happily pass my days at the roots of a tree in the grove of Madhavi creepers, listening to a parrot couple jubilantly sing the glories of the nectarian pastimes of Sri Radha and Krishna? When will I see Lord Govinda, the master of the gopis, accompanied by Srimati Radharani, as they both sit on a jeweled throne? Poor-hearted Narottam Das hopes that someday he will be able to obtain this so difficult to obtain desire. So there's a beautiful song by Srila Narottam Das Thakur explaining the mood of the exalted Vaishnava desiring the great service of Radha and Krishna and this ecstatic bhav, the ecstatic mood. We heard earlier about Mukunda Das. He saw the peacock feather. He experienced ecstasy. But he did not want to display that in the public place in front of the Muslim king and the whole court. But in this bhajan, we hear that devotees have the desire to experience the ecstasy of Krishna consciousness as an internal experience, not to put it on display for the public. But this is a wonderful mood expressed by Srila Narottam Das Thakur, which is the mood that was cultivated by Vamsidas Babaji Maharaj. I would just like to conclude today by singing Jai Anilo Premadhana, the prayers to the great departed Vaishnavas. By singing this prayer on this day of their departure, we can invoke their mercy. And also, we can invoke their mercy by praying to them on this day, praying to them that we can also become absorbed in Krishna consciousness and detached from the things of this material world. So let us all take a moment and offer our prayers to Sri Raghunandan Thakur and Sri Vamsidas Babaji Maharaj. Jai Anilo Premadhana Karuna Pracho Jai Anilo Jai Anilo Premadhana Karuna Pracho Heno Prabhu Kota Gela Chaya Thakur Heno Prabhu Kota Gela Chaya Thakur Kahamora Swarup Rupa Kahasanata Kahamora Swarup Rupa Kahasanata Kahadasuragu Natha Patita Pavan Kahadasu Raghunatha Patita Pavan. Kahamora Bata Juga Kaha Kavira Kahamora Bata Juga Kaha Kavira Eka Kale Kota Gela Goranatara Eka Kale Kota Gela Goratara Pashane Kuti Mata Anale Poshibo Pashane Kuti Mata Anale Pashibo Gauranga Gunera Nidhi Kota Gele Pabo Gauranga Gunera Nidhi Kota Gele Pabo Se Sabha Sangira Sange Je Koilo Bilas Se Sabha Sangira Sange Je Koilo Bilas Se Sanga Napaya Kande Narotamada Se Sangana Paya Kande Narotama Jeha Nilo Premadana Karuna Pracho He no Prabhu Kotha Gela Chaya Thakur He no Prabhu Kotha Gela Chaya Thakur Jaya Vaishnav Thakur, Vaishnav Thakur, Vaishnav Thakur, Jaya Vaishnav Thakur. Jaya Raghunandan Thakur, Raghunandan Thakur, Raghunandan Thakur, Jaya Raghunandan Thakur. Jaya Vamsidas Babaji Maharaj, Vamsidas Babaji Maharaj. Jaya Vamsidas Babaji Maharaj, Vamsidas Babaji Maharaj. Prabhupada, 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 Jai Prabhupada. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jai Prabhupada. Jai Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai, Vamsidas Babaji Maharaj ki jai, Raghunandan Thakur ki jai, Raghunandan Thakur Tirubhav Titi Maha Mahotsava ki jai, Shri Vamsidas Babaji Maharaj Tirubhav Titi Maha Mahotsava ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. Hare Krishna.